Hey, it's me, Raika. Today we're going to have a look at Ezio, Auditor Da Firenze from the Dimensional faction. Now, this hero wears leather-based gear, is part of the Ranger class, and his primary role is to provide and execute for your allies whenever the enemy hero gets on low health. So let's have a look at his skills. His ultimate ability, Eagle Vision. Now, this is the bread and butter of this particular character. Ezio marks all enemy targets with an execution threshold, markers and executes the target if their health is below the threshold. Each time this skill is used against the same enemy who has been marked before, their threshold will be raised. So as we can see, he will mark them with 27% of their maximum health. So this is a little over a quarter of their max health, and this can scale all the way to 1600% of Ezio's attack rating. So from here, we can see that he can scale extremely well, especially at high level deficits. In addition, this threshold will be increased by 8% for every subsequent ultimate use of this ability over here. Level 2. Enemies marked with an execution threshold marker receive 45% more damage from Ezio's attacks. Now, Ezio does not hit extremely hard. He mainly is used for this execute version over here. Level 3. Enemies marked with this execution threshold marker receive 65% more damage from Ezio's attacks. His next ability, Final Retribution. When Ezio is about to receive damage, he ignores the incoming damage and initiates a counterattack against the attacker. So as we can see, this can be activated every 9 seconds and he can avoid all damage. This includes both magic and physical damage. And as we can see over here, he will initiate a 6-stage attack where he will strike them for 95% of the damage, and he also uses his crossbow to inflict additional damage of 300%. The level 2, 3, and 4, this skill can be activated every 6 seconds. So this allows him to survive much longer in battle and allows him to be extremely tanky even though he's wearing only leather-based gear. His next ability is Smoke Bomb. Nearby enemies of Ezio have their accuracy, crit block rate, and haste reduced. So this can be reduced by 105 points for accuracy, crit block rate by 35%, and they will lose 70 haste points for 9 seconds. So the smoke bomb is a little cloud that appears on the battlefield where enemies will lose these respective buffs. The level 2, enemies will lose 120 points of accuracy, 3 and 30 engravings. This accuracy reduction is increased all the way to 145 points. So this is the enemy's ability in order to inflict physical damage on Ezio. His next ability, Evasion. Ezio increases his dodge rating every second during battle until it reaches 100 points are reached. So this is 4 dodge points every 1 second. Ezio has the chance to regain 6% of his max health whenever he successfully dodges enemy attacks. This skill can be activated once every 2 seconds. So this is a passive amount of healing that he has built into his kit. The level 3, this healing can recover 8% of his max health. And the 16 engravings, Ezio receives 6 dodge points every 1 second during battle until it reaches 150 points. So let's have a look at his signature item. Assassin's Target. Ezio temporarily raises the enemy's execution threshold after defeating the enemy. So, as we can see over here, he will raise the execution threshold by 50% for the following 10 seconds. So as we can see, this can snowball where you can one-shot multiple targets within a couple of seconds. The level 10 upgrade. Each time Ezio defeats his enemy, he receives 35% less damage from enemies for 10 seconds. So as we can see, this synergizes extremely well, especially with his dodge and self-healing mechanic. The level 20, this damage reduction is increased to 55%, and the 30 unlock. Each time Ezio defeats an enemy, his smoke bomb is triggered. So this is an extra defensive layer that can be added to Ezio over here. His furniture, Master Assassin. All negative control effects are removed from Ezio whenever a deadly strike is dealt to an enemy, as a result of his Eagle Vision skill. And the 9 out of 9, Ezio gains 500 energy points at the beginning of battle. So this allows him to mark enemies quicker allowing them to be within that threshold or execution range and allowing him to get to work much quicker at the beginning of battle. So let's have a look at how he does in the arena of trials. So we're going to have a look at the training dummy over here. So he walks onto battle and slashes the enemies over here. Then there's his little crossbow, his smoke bomb where he reduces the enemy's accuracy. There's the little smoke or circular sand appearing around the enemy. There we go. They slashed the enemy a couple of times. There's the smoke bomb that he appeared. So let's mark the enemies. There we go. One of the enemies is in execution threshold and he'll execute them immediately. Now there's a slight delay. However, if there's enemy targets such as Brutus who has an immunity, Zorath who can go through different dimensions, or any hero who has a temporary immunity, Ezio is excellent at removing these pesky enemies that simply will not die. Now, Ezio can survive for extremely long time because of his defensive layers. Now, Ezio is not mainly a damage dealer. He'll need another secondary damage dealer who can deal most of the damage. And Ezio will be responsible for one-shotting the enemies one by one as soon as they get to low health. So let's have a look at how he does at a much higher level deficit. So from this particular battle, we can see Ezio is on the front line. Now he's excellent at tanking initial hits because of the high amount of dodge that he has. So let's have a look how he does in this battle. Now this is a 127 level deficit. So he walks onto the battle, dodges a couple of strikes, and immediately uses his smoke bomb. This will allow him to tank a lot of damage. There's the execution threshold, and the enemies are marked. This is why he's extremely powerful at high level deficits. Now enemies are on low health. He executes his first enemy target. There we go. This target has been one-shotted. That is Hodgkin. That is Desira. And now he's snowballing as he continually executes each enemy one by one. Now he's an excellent pair, especially if you match him up with other dimensional heroes to supercharge his effectiveness in battle. Now, what is the minimum investment that I would recommend into this particular hero? Now, I would highly recommend getting his 30 signature item. The reason for this gives him an extra amount of attack rating where his ultimate or the execution threshold is based upon. In addition, this gives him a lot of damage reduction, especially his 20, which gives him 55% less damage for 10 seconds whenever he executes an enemy. Now, the next thing I would highly recommend is his 9 furniture. The reason for this is that 500 extra energy at the beginning of battle. So that means he only needs another 500 points before he can use his ultimate and start executing the enemies one by one. Now, engravings on him is not that important. However, this raises his execution threshold as this is based solely on his attack rating. And the higher this is, the more effective you will be at higher level deficits, especially when you get to that 150 or 200 level deficits. This allows him to have a bigger threshold, and this gives you that extra opportunity to make him more effective in battle. Now, I do not recommend going for his 60 engravings, as this does not provide any additional benefit to him, as he can gain more than enough dodge through his passive and active components through his kit and gear over here.